So, hello guys, I am your Dinesh back with a new chapter. Today we are starting a new chapter guys. The name of the chapter is linear equation, pair of linear equation in two variable. After finishing the polynomial chapter, this is the third chapter of your NCERT textbook guys. In this chapter, what we'll be basically dealing is, they would have given us conditions guys. Even in your daily life situations, you would have come across situations like, you might have at least come across questions like, dad's age is twice the age of the son, and for example, dad's present age is thrice the age of the son, and after 4 years the dad's age is twice as the age of the son. Find the value of dad and son's present age. Such questions you would have come across guys. In this chapter we'll be dealing with such questions only guys. They will give us few conditions. Based on those conditions, we have to formulate equations, and as the chapter says, it's pair of linear equations. We have to formulate pair of linear equation guys, that is two linear equations. As you know, what is a linear equation? In the previous chapter polynomials, we saw linear, quadratic, cubic, even biquadratic equations, right? Power of 1 is called as linear, power of 2 is quadratic, 3 is cubic. But in this chapter we'll be seeing only linear equation, which means all the equation in this chapter is going to have only power of 1. So you will be, with the conditions given, first you will be forming pair of linear equation guys. Pair in the sense two equations, and from those two equations finally you will be solving the equations to get the solution of value of x and y, which is going to satisfy the questions, question. So let's go ahead and see it with an example guys. You will be able to understand it better. In your NCERT textbook, this is the first example they are given guys, and it's a very good example as well to understand this concept and to understand what we are going to learn in this chapter. So let's go into the example. Akila went to a fair in a village. She wanted to enjoy the rides on giant wheel and play hoopla. The number of times she played hoopla is half the number of times she had a ride on giant wheel. If each ride cost ₹3 and each game of hoopla cost ₹4, how would you find the number of rides she had and the number of times she played hoopla if the total amount she spent was ₹20? So in this question guys, they say Akila is a girl and she goes to a fair in a village and she wants to play the games, right? In fair there will be many games. She wants to play particularly two games. One is the giant wheel and the second game she wants to play is hoopla. And the conditions given is that they are given two conditions guys. This is the first condition. From these two lines you are going to get the first condition, and from this para you are going to get the second condition. From this one condition you will be making one linear equation, and from this condition you will make another linear equation, and these are the two equations guys. You got the pair of linear equation, right? And then you will be solving these two equations to find the value of x and y. Let's go ahead and do it guys. I'll tell you what is x and y first. So they say the first condition, let's read it out. The number of times she played hoopla is half the number of times she had a ride on giant wheel. Now this is expressed in language, right? It's expressed in English language. We have to express this in mathematical form, right? We are doing maths, we need to express in mathematical form to solve the equation. To represent this in mathematical form, what we'll be taking is, let the number of times she played giant wheel be x, okay? And then let the number of times she played hoopla be y. So let's write it down here guys. The number of times she played giant wheel is equal to x, and the number of times she played hoopla is equal to y. These are the assumptions we are making guys. We need pair of linear equation in two variable, right? Which means in this chapter we'll be dealing with two variables, which means every question should contain two variables. These are the two variables we got from the first statement guys. And how to get these variables, you will become thorough by practicing more and more questions. After you practice more questions, you will get to know how to take the variables, like how to assume which thing as which variable. Even now you will be able to assume it because it's logical, right? Because they have given a sentence. It is a sentence which can be formulated into mathematical form. So first we have to assume, now let's formulate into mathematical form. Since they said the number of times she played hoopla is half the number of times she rode the giant wheel, which means let's do it here guys. In this gap I'll do it. They are telling the number of times she played hoopla, which is y. Hoopla which she played is half the number of times she played the giant wheel. Right, the number of times she played the giant wheel is x. So number of times she played hoopla is half the number of times she went on a ride in a giant wheel. So if this is the giant wheel ride, they are telling half, right? So multiplied by half, you'll get the number of times she played hoopla. So this is the first equation which you got from this two sentence guys. Now we have to formulate the second equation. Let's mark it as 1. Right, now we have to formulate the second equation. For the second equation, let's go to the second para. Here they say, if each ride, in your exam guys, they'll give it as in they won't give it as para 1, para 2 like that. I'm just telling you after analyzing the question. In the exam, they would give like a continuous para. You yourself should analyze which sentence corresponds to first equation. That is, which sentences will give you first equations or the first condition to solve, and the second which is the second para which will give you a second equation that you have to analyze. That you will be getting with practice. Okay, now the second para says, if each ride cost rupees 3, ride in the sense they mean giant ride, and each game of hoopla rupees 4, how would you find the number of rides she had and the number of times she played hoopla if the total amount she spent was 20? Now they are telling the total amount she spent on the entire event, after playing the giant wheel and playing the game of hoopla, the entire amount she spent is 20 rupees, and each game of hoopla cost rupees 4 and each game of giant wheel cost rupees 3, and they are telling us to find the number of times she rode the giant wheel, and the number of times she played the hoopla. That is, they are asking us x and y guys. In this chapter, at last, what you are supposed to find is the value of x and y. After formulating the equations with the conditions, at last the final conclusion, that's the final answer, only x and y is going to give us. So our ultimate aim in this chapter is to find the value of x and y, nothing other than that guys. Ultimate aim is to find the value of x and y. Now first we have to get the second equation from this para, and then we have to solve the first equation with second equation to get the value of x and y. With one equation it is impossible to find the value of x and y. Okay, if there are two variables, you need two equations to find the value of x and y. If there are three variables, for example x, y and z, you need three equations to get the value of x, y and z. If there are four variables, x, y, z and a, which means you will require four equations to solve and find the values of those variables. So the number of equations required to find the value of variables is equal to number of variables present in the equation. In this equations, in this chapter, we will be basically seeing pair of variables, that is two variables. So we will require also pair of linear equations to find it. As simple as that guys. So we are dealing with two variables in this whole chapter, any two variables. In this chapter we will be considering it as x and y, the two variables. We have to find the value of x and y, which means in this entire chapter all the question is going to contain two equations. That's one thing guys. Now let's go ahead with this one. Now they're telling the ride costed rupees 3, right? Now what variable we are given for the ride, giant wheel? We have given as x. It cost rupees 3. If she, how many times, for example, if she plays the ride 2 times, it's going to cost her 2 into 3, right? If she plays the ride 3 times, it's going to cost her 3 into 3. And if she plays the hoopla game, it is going to cost her 4 into y, because the number of times she played the game hoopla is y we considered, right? For one time it is 4 months, for y times it's going to be 4y, right? And for one time if it is rupees 3 for giant wheel, for x times it's going to be x into 3, right? If it is 3, it will be 3 into 3, right? So the second equation which you get is 3x plus 4y equal to 20, since the total amount is 20. This is the second equation which we formulated from the second condition. Now we have to solve these two equations to get the value of x and y. Finally, after solving the value of x and y, you will get it, right? For example, if you get the value of x as 4 and y as 2, you will write that the number of times she played giant wheel is 4 and the number of time she played the game hoopla is y. and I mean y in the sense is 2, and then you will conclude it, guys. That's it, answer over. First, in this type of question, guys, in this chapter, basically first you have to read the question properly, and after reading the question properly you have to formulate two equations and then solve those two equations to get the value of x and y, and then conclude by saying and giving the value of x and y. That's it, guys. The whole chapter is going to play around only these concepts. Now in this whole chapter what we'll be doing is, see, we get two variables, right? We get two equations. Now how do you solve this? You don't know to solve two equations, right? So in this whole chapter we'll be learning how to solve two equations, pair of two equations in two variables. The methods, one is the algebraic method. Many algebraic methods are there are 4 methods basically. All those 4 methods you'll be learning to solve these two equations. In these two equations instead any two equations. And also there is few graphical method from which you can solve the equation. In this chapter we'll be seeing all those, guys. Now we are not going to solve this in this example. We'll take this as an example question after I teach you how to solve this, and then we'll solve this, guys. So for now that's it, guys. I'll move aside, you can take the screenshot. So guys, now let's look into the few small topics which are actually important in this chapter, which you have to learn it. Let's see what does a solution of a linear equation means. A solution of a linear equation means that set of value of x and y, when you put in the equation you'll be getting the value of RHS. For example, this is a LHS of the equation, right? That set, that set of values, that when you put in the value of in the place of x and the place of y, you'll be getting as 5. LHS should come as RHS. For example, here in this equation, if you put the value of x as 1 and y as 1, you will get RHS as equal to 5, because 2 into 1 is 2 plus 3 into y is, in place of y you will be putting 1, so 2 plus 3 will give us 5, right? So LHS will be equal to RHS, which means x and y equal to 1, that is x equal to 1 and y equal to 1 is a solution of this linear equation. For example, guys, I'll write it down here. In place of x you'll be putting 1 and in place of y you'll be putting 1. That time LHS value that you'll be getting as 5, which is equal to RHS. So a solution of linear equation means those values from which you are going to get LHS equal to RHS, that is your left hand side and right hand side you should get equal when you put the values of x and y. Now let's look into the second example of the same topic. The second equation they have given us, this was the first equation, the second equation they have given us y minus y equal to 0. Now if you see, if you take the y the other side, it will become minus y will become plus y, so it will become like x equal to y. For x equal to y there are infinite solutions, guys. There are infinite solution, because 1 equal to 1, that's also a solution of this equation. And even for this equation, if you put here in this previous step also, if you try to solve it, for example, if you take the value of x as 1 and y as 1, it becomes 1 minus 1 equal to 0. If you take the value of x as 2 and y as 2, it becomes 2 minus 2 equal to 0. So what will become 0? When the same value is minus from the same value, right, then it will become 0. So 2 minus 2 is also 0, 3 minus 3 is also 0, 4 minus 4 is also 0. In all these cases the equation will satisfy. There will be more than one solution for this equation. This is what solution of linear equation means, guys. Right, now let's go to the second small topic, that's you have to learn you have to know what is the general form of a linear equation. The general form of a linear equation is like this, guys. It's like a1x plus b1y plus c1 equal to 0. This is the general form. It will have two variables, right, and one constant term, and these two variables will be along with a number, right? That number will represent as a1 and b1. These two numbers can be different or it can be same. And here the second equation we are representing, right? So we are representing it as a2x plus b2y plus c2 equal to 0. For example, guys, in this equation what doesn't change is x and y won't change, it will be the same. The value of these constants is there, no, I mean this will change. For example, in one equation it can be like the value of a1 can be 2, so it can be like 2x, and the value of b1 can be 3, so it becomes plus 3y, and the value of c can be 5, so it becomes plus 5 equal to 0. This can become one equation. In this place of a1, b1 and c1, if you replace with numbers, you will be getting a equation, guys. It looks like a equation, right? So this is the general form of a linear equation. Now let's go ahead and learn what does the graphical meaning of, how does the graphical meaning of linear equations looks like. So guys, now let's go ahead and see how does a pair of linear equations looks in graph. In the previous chapters, polynomials, you must have come across, we had seen the graphs of polynomials. In general, we saw the graphs of linear, quadratic and cubic. All three types of graphs we had seen, guys. If you had remembered, for quadratic we got a parabolic type of graph, and for a linear we got a straight line type of graph, and for quadratic we got something like this graph or something like this. It was a curvy shaped graph. In this chapter we'll only restrict ourselves to a linear equations, right? So it's going to be a straight line graphs, which means all these equations in this chapter you'll be dealing with only straight line. In the graph you'll be getting only a straight line, but since it's a pair of equations, so in a graph you'll be getting two straight lines, not one line for first equation and second line for the second equation, right? So when it comes lines in a plane or lines in a graph, there are three possible cases, guys. This is the first case. For example, if you draw the graph of one equation, it might come like this. And if you draw after plotting the points, if you draw the graph of the second equation, it might come a line like this, right? And after that, so it is called as a intersecting lines, right? It's intersecting, it intersects at a point. These two are the equations, the graphical equations of those two equations. This is first possibility, and the second possibility is the second case, in which both the equations might give a line which are parallel to each other, right? Which are straight parallel. It doesn't intersect anywhere, neither does it diverges anywhere, neither does it converges anywhere. It's just parallel. And if you see the third case, it might be like both the lines are coinciding. Both the lines are one of the same. It might be like this. It's actually two lines, guys, but I have drawn only one line. It's two lines. See these arrows, you can see there are two arrows, which means there are two lines on the same line. These are the three possible cases, guys. And when are we going to get these three cases? It depends upon the variable a1, b1 and c1, as we saw in the last question, right? Like this one, a1x plus b1y plus c1 equal to 0, and a2x plus b2y plus c2 equal to 0. It depends upon this value of a1, a2, b1, b2 and c1, c2, guys. Depending upon those values, you will get a different types of graphs and different types of solution. In this type of graph, this intersection point is there, right? That's the solution. It will have only one unique solution for the two equations. This point, the coordinates corresponding to this point, in later chapter we'll discuss, guys. Now it will it has a separate topic. We'll discuss in that topic. Like it has some significance in this chapter. All these graphs will have a significance in this chapter. So it's very important to learn the graph thoroughly. So that's it, guys. Basically I'll summarize it. There are three types of graph possible. One might be intersecting, another will be parallel, and another might be collinear, which is coinciding lines. Now let's go ahead with an example to learn it, guys. You can take the screenshot now. So now let's go to example 1, guys. Example 1 of your NCERT textbook. Example 1 is the same as the example question which we saw earlier. That is the first example which they are given in your textbook. That is the case of Akila, when she went to the fair and she played the giant wheel and the game of hoopla. They are telling us to take the case of Akila and represent it graphically and represent it algebraically and graphically. The algebraic representation, we did it in the previous before few minutes itself, guys. So now here we'll be doing it graphically. Now these were the two algebraic expression of the Akila's case question, right? Now we have to do it graphically. So in just now we had seen how to do it graphically. We have to plot the values of x and y on the graph and then connect them. The first thing which I said to you is that it's going to be like a straight line, right? It's not going to be parabola or any other shape. It's going to be a straight line because it's a linear equations. Now we have two equations, which means we'll be getting two straight lines. Now to get those two straight lines, you need some points, right? Now if you remember in the polynomial chapter how we did, we took the value of x and y in a tabular column, and then we just put the value of x, we put a value of x as 0, and then we'll get a value of y something, right? For example, if you put the value of x as 0 here, you'll get the value of y as also 0. And then if you put the value of x as 2 here, 2 will get cancelled and y you will get as 1. So this is how you will be getting the values. You should put the value of x and get the value of y, and then you will be getting the coordinates, which you can plot it in the graph, and then you can draw the graph. For example, here we put 0 and 2 and we got 0 and 1. So what are the coordinates here? X comma y, right? So it is 0 comma 0 and 2 comma 1. Right, now these 2 points we've plotted in the graph, we'll get the line of this equation. For example, 0 comma 0 is here and 2 comma 1 is here. These are the 2 points, guys. Now if you draw a line passing through these 2 points, you'll get a line, right? That line represents this equation, right? So this is the line of first equation. Now let's see the line of second equation. The second equation is a bit complex, guys. The value of x you will take like this, y equation you will get it like this. How? You have to take y separately, guys, to get the value of y. For that, what you should do is keep the y term in one side and all other term in the x side, and finally find the value of y. For example, what you have to do is you have to keep 4y here and the rest of the term take it to the other side. So y will finally become 20 minus 3x by 4. This is the value of y, which you will put it here for your calculation to become easy. Now what you will do, you will put the value of x and get the value of y. Same procedure, guys. So x you will put as 0 first, because it's a simple number. We are hoping to get a simpler number of y so that we can easily plot it in the graph. If you put the value of x as 0, here you will get 20 minus 0 by 5, which is 5, which means by 4. 20 minus 0 by 4, which is equal to 5, which means y value is 5. If you put the value of x as 4, 20 minus 3 into 4 is 12. 20 minus 12 by 4. 20 minus 12 is 8 by 4 is 2. So we got the value of 2, y as 2. So what are the coordinates now? The coordinates for this equation is 0 comma 5 and 4 comma 2. 0 comma 5 and 4 comma 2. If you plot these 2 points in the graph, 0 comma 5 is here, right? 0 comma 5 is here and 4 comma 2 is here. So if you connect these 2 points, you will get a line. This line corresponds to this equation. So this equation's graph is that line. Now if you see this graph, they are intersecting lines, right? Okay, they have not asked for the solution in this equation. They have in this question they have just said just to represent. So this is the graphical representation of the equation of Aquila's case. This was algebraic representation. That's it, guys. Example 1 is over. Now let's go to example 2. You can take the screenshot of this. So guys, now let's go to example 2. Example 2 also, it's similar to example 1, guys. They have given you the question, they have given you the conditions. What we have to do is we have to just represent the condition in the form of equation, that is in the form of algebraic equation, and the same algebraic equation we have to represent in the form of a graphical equation. That's it, guys. Now let's see how we are going to do it. Just a minute, guys. 131. Okay, done. Fine. Yeah, now let's read the question. The question says, Romila went to a stationery shop and purchased 2 pencils and 3 erasers for ₹9. Her friend Sonali brought 4 pencils and 6 erasers of same kind for ₹18. Represent this situation graphically and algebraically. So guys, they are telling there are 2 friends, guys. There are 2 girls who are friend to each other. One is Romila and other one is Sonali. First, Romila goes to a stationery shop and she brings 2 pencils and 3 erasers, and the total money spent in that buying of 2 pencils and 3 erasers is ₹9. And her friend Sonali, after seeing that, goes to the same shop, buys the same variety of 4 pencils and 6 erasers for 18 rupees. Now they are telling us to represent these sentences in algebraic and graphical form. So first, going to represent this equation algebraic form, we have to assume the variables, right? We have to assume. So the first step is the assumption step. In the assumption step, we are going to assume that the price of 1 pencil be x rupees, and let the price of 1 eraser be y rupees. Now for Romali, we are going to do 2 pencils, right? So the cost the total cost for 2 pencil is going to be 2 into x. Since the price of 1 pencil is x, the cost of 2 pencil is going to be 2 into x, and the cost of 1 eraser is y, so the cost of 3 erasers which she brought is 3y, which is actually equal to the total money she spent, right, which is equal to 9. And in the case of Sonali, she brings 4 pencil, so the cost of 1 pencil is x rupees, right, so the cost of 4 pencil is 4x, and the cost of 6 eraser is 6y, right, because cost of 1 eraser is y, so 6y equal to, and what is the total money she spent? It was 18. So these are the two variables for both the cases, guys. This is for Romali and this is for Sonali. Now we are going to represent these two. Now this is the algebraic representation. So the which they asked first one, represent this algebraically. This is the algebraic representation, guys. This is equation 1 and this is equation 2. So algebraic representation is over. Now to do the graphical representation from the algebraic representation, as we learnt in the chapter polynomials, when we are drawing the graphs, we have to draw the tabular column first, like how we did in the last example. We have to draw the tabular column first. We have to take the values of x and y. In the same way also for the second equation, we have to take the values of x and y. We'll take the values of x, we'll get the values of y. We'll take the values of x, we'll get the value of y. Similarly, we'll put the value of x and we'll get the value of y. And these points which we get here, these points are x comma y, right? It is 0 comma 3 and it is 4.5 comma 0. Similarly here also it is 0 comma 3 comma 3 comma 1. These points, if we represent, if we plot it in the graph, we are going to get a line like this, right? Because 0 comma 3 is this one, 0 comma 3 is this one, 4.5 comma 0 is this one, and 0 comma 3 is again this one, and 3 comma 1 is this one. So if you plot all these points together, you will get a single line. So what we get to know from this is, these both equation when you plot in the graph, we are going to get it as a single line, right? So this means that both the equations are one of the same. If you, for example guys, if you divide the second equation with 2 everywhere, if you divide it by 2 everywhere, you are going to get 2x, right? It gets cancelled up and you will get 2x, and this gets cancelled up, you will get 3y, and this gets cancelled up and you will get 9. It's going to become like 2x plus 3y plus 9, which is nothing but equal to equation 1. When both the equations are both the equations are similar, that is same. When both the equations are same, when divided by a common factor, then the graph which you will get is a straight line. You won't get an intersecting or a parallel line, you will get a straight line. This is the example 2, guys. In example 1 we saw the intersecting lines, right? That's the case 1. This is the case 2 of graph possible, that is collinear or coinciding lines. Now let's go to example 3 and see where the lines are going to be parallel. Now you can take the screenshot of this problem, guys. So yeah guys, now let's go to example 3 of your NCERT textbook. In example 3, it's same guys. They have given you two equations. They have already given you the algebraic equation. In this case, they didn't give the conditions and they didn't tell you to find the algebraic equation. In this case, they have already given you the algebraic equation. You just have to make it graphical. Just a minute guys. So you have to just make the graphical equations of these two equations. So the two equations are x plus 2y minus 4 equal to 0 and 2x plus 4y minus 12 equal to 0. It's the same guys as we did. This question is much easier than the previous questions, I guess, because they are already given the equation. You have to just make the points. You have to take the value of x and y in the tabular column. You have to put the value of x and get the value of y and then mark those coordinates. For example, here the coordinates are 0, 2 and 4, 0, right? It is 0, 2 and 4, 0. Here the coordinates are 0, 3 and 6, 0. These 2 points, if you, all these 4 points, if you plot in the graph, you will get a graph like that, guys. See, for example, 0, 2 is here and 4, 0 is here. So this line is of the graph, this one. So this is this equation, right? Yeah, this one is for this first equation. So the graph of, this line is the graph of this equation, x plus 2y minus 4 equal to 0, and this is the graph of the second equation, 2x plus 4y minus 12 equal to 0. These are the two graphs we have drawn, guys. That's it. In this case, if you see, both the lines are parallel. Actually here in board I couldn't draw it properly, so it doesn't look so parallel. But if you properly plot the points and draw it in the graph sheet, you will get a perfectly parallel lines. So in the first example, when you saw the case of Aqila's question, the graph was an intersecting question, right? And then we saw one more question which was based upon the pencils and erasers. That was the last example which we saw. That's of Romali and Sonali. In that example, if we see, the graph was same line. It was collinear lines, coinciding lines. Two lines were in the same line. And so it looked like just a single line. In this case, both the lines are not intersecting nor a straight line, but they are parallel. This is the third case possible, guys. So in the cases of three possible cases of graph of pair of linear equation which we saw, they were the three cases, right? Based on those three cases, they have given you three examples as well in NCERT textbook. So all the three concepts, that is three cases, are covered with the help of example in your NCERT textbook itself, guys. So it's a good thing. Now we can move forward to exercise, the first exercise of this chapter. I'll move aside, guys. You can take the screenshot.